I would like to invite you to come and journey with me into the homes, lives and hopes of the Parkari Kohli community in the area of Kipro, Sangar district, Sindh. I began this journey with them in 1979. I have enjoyed their great hospitality and acceptance during these years. I have also experienced their great poverty, enslavement, and the harshness of the dehumanizing feudal system that is enslaving them both mentally and physically. The Parkari Kohlis are very much an indigenous community of Sindh, hailing from Nagar Parkar in the southeast of Pakistan. Living in the desert areas, they depend upon the rain for their crops and water for their animals. Often, the much-needed rains failed to come, so they had to leave their homeland in those times of drought and travel with their animals to interior Sindh. Canals were constructed in the 1930s and the 1940s in the areas of Nuabshah, Sangar, Mirpurkhas, Kunri, Matli and Bedin. With this new irrigation system, they found themselves working as sharecroppers and bonded labourers in the feudal landlord system. They borrowed money for food, medicines, for weddings and funerals, and with crops often failing, they found themselves trapped and indebted and almost enslaved in the dehumanizing system. Many of them became a semi-nomadic people, moving in family groups from landlord to landlord in the hope of a better life, only to find often great hardships and ever-increasing debts.
Meet the Naroni family. They have been moving from landlord to landlord for most of the 14 years I have lived in Kipro. They are a typical family. They live in very simple round huts made of twigs, wattled with clay, chopped straw and cow dung with a thatched grass roof. The women get up at dawn, make a cup of tea and then go to work on the land, weeding or harvesting the crops of cotton, chili, wheat, rice, onions and mustard oil. Many landlords will not allow them to sow vegetables. They have 2 simple meals each day, the first at 10 a.m. They have some chapatis, maybe with curd, buttermilk or tea. Then after dusk, an evening meal with a little vegetable curry and chapati. It is a long day of drudgery in a hot, blazing sun, sometimes well into 40 degrees, even up to 48 degrees centigrade. At least 98% of men are illiterate and women are almost 100. The women have a particularly hard life. They marry very young, at 14, 16 years old. They have many children. Halio Naroni lost both his wives while giving birth. His nephew's wife died at the birth of their 6th child, and all his children had predeceased her. Each time I go to a graveyard, I'm numbed by the number of children's graves and the number of young women who have died in childbirth. They own a few animals which they feed from weeding the crops. Sometimes even those animals are 50% owned by the landlord. They are fatalistic and believe that it is God's will that they are born into the state in this reincarnation and want to and to want to change or take another road would be to go against what has been ordained for them.
Let us now visit Francis Nagar, a small colony of 70 families living on the outskirts of Kipro town. People began building their homes here in 1997. It has been a difficult transition from the enslavement of the feudal system to the freedom and responsibility of living on their own plot. It is hard to live on the daily wages of 100 to 150 rupees. Inflation is 25 to 30%. Food is expensive, and when sickness or death or a marriage needs to be celebrated, where can these poor families find money? Who is going to lend money to them? For some, it means returning to the hell of the enslaving landlord system. However, some have managed to stay and find a new, if not a very easy life. Some are teachers, but their salaries of 3,200 rupees to 7,000 rupees per month are not really sufficient for their needs. Some have a rickshaw. Others have their trolley and sell vegetables, fruit, some sweets or other items. Some have a donkey cart. There are a few tailors, an electrician, 4 masons. One has a tea shop. A few have small utility shops. The women work as seasonal workers, picking cotton and chilies, weeding crops. Some have a few animals. The biggest change is that children are attending school, especially girls. At Rar, 16 kilometers from Kipro town, 75 families have settled on the sand dunes in 1999. This is government land, but the landlord has given us permission to set up a village there. These families moved as a unit. Many of them continue to work with the landlord as sharecroppers. Now some of them work for a monthly wage, while others work as seasonal labourers, sowing, weeding and picking the cotton and chilies. They now have electricity. Many have latrines, where they paid 50% of the 20,000 rupees cost. We have also helped them to sink boreholes, so they have very good drinking water. Recently, they have begun kitchen gardening. They have some goats and a few cows and buffaloes. They have a primary school. They have great difficulty in sending children to our main school, Father Cyprian High School in Kipro, due to transport costs and often the non-availability of a place on the Datsun. It is particularly difficult for village girls to come by public transport, and many have to discontinue their schooling. There is a need for boarding facilities for village children for classes 6 to 12. Sister Ishrit will now give you a short introduction to our schools.
Good morning, my name is Sister Ishrit and I am the head of the school. We have one main school and 16 branch schools. There is a possibility of educating 2,000 children in our schools. People are very poor here. Therefore, we are trying to educate these poor children so they can live better life in the society.
Bella, 8 kilometers from Kipro, is an example of the most basic facilities of our schools. Sister Roberta's primary school is built on government land but controlled by the landlord. He gave us permission to open the school. However, we do not know how long he will give us his blessing. In Bashirabad and Mujahid Water, we have had the devastating experience of landlords demanding us to close the schools. In Bashirabad, we had 55 children attending, and in Majide Water 48. We could do nothing but close these schools. Many landlords do not want these people to be educated. They have no respect for them. The Parkaris and other indigenous communities have no rights. They are just commodities to be used, pushed about and resold if necessary. At Bella, there are 3 teachers and 65 children. They are interested in learning, but there isn't a good teaching environment. They sit on the dirt floor ground. They have no furniture except a few blackboards. The children are often in their bare feet. Many do not have books or copybooks.
About 13 kilometers from Kipro, there has been built a 2-room school, 3 teachers and 115 children at Barrawater. As you hear from teachers Tarvichand and Vishram, it is hard to teach the children in these overcrowded conditions, all squashed together in this very hot climate. We need to extend this school and furnish it properly. As Sister Ishrat mentioned, we have 16 village schools, branches of our main school, Father Cyprian High School at Kipro. The nearest school is at Dar, 6 kilometers, and the furthest at Mirva is 88 kilometers. Where we have bought land, we have built brick schools, some with grass thatched roofs, others have gidders, balas, that is wooden planks, chicks and wattled roofs. We have 52 teachers. We have in service each month with regular supervision of the schools. Our main school at Kipro is well equipped with good-sized classrooms, computer rooms, science laboratory and library. There are about 300 children. It has the capacity for at least 1,000 children. We have over 40 children in nursery, but the dropout rate is very high, and we end up with 16 to 20 children in class 10. However, we feel progress is being made. 3 girls who completed matriculation this year are now teaching in our schools and are enrolled to do PTC. 1 has enrolled in a midwifery course. 1 boy has applied for nursing. 5 are doing their FSC. A number of our village teachers were educated in our schools. The seeds are being sown, and we are seeing some of the blossoming and even its fruits. The literacy outreach program is costly, about 35 lakh per year. With our present staff, we should be educating at least 2,000 or more. But we will need to create awareness and let the voice of teacher Miriam be heard in all the villages and in our women's awareness programs. Before we listen to Sister Monica and women's animator Mrs. Teresa James, we will let the wisdom of Sister Roberta conclude with a little summary of our educational endeavours.
Good morning. My name is Sister Roberta Kilbride. I left Ireland in 1964, inspired by our Presentation Sisters foundress, Nan O'Neill, who dedicated her life to the poorest of the poor in Ireland. In the year 2000, we began our ministry to the poorest of the poor and the most marginalised Indigenous communities here in Kipro area. These people are bonded labourers, sharecroppers in a very dehumanising feudal society. They are nobodies. We are 3 Presentation Sisters here in Kipro. Through our educational outreach programs, we are giving them a voice. We are giving them respect and helping them to have self-worth and discover their own giftedness and that they have a place in society. Change is happening. We are privileged to be part of their discovering their own giftedness of who they are and what they can become.
Now Sister Monica with Teresa James will share with us about their journeying with our Parkari Kohli women's groups.
My name is Sister Monica. I am working in this school, and I am also working with the women's group, and Teresa James is working with me, and once a month we have program with the women, and we are trying to give them awareness about health, family life and education, that they can live better life.
We invited Teresa James to visit women in each of the villages where we have schools. She has given 2 weeks to each month to listening to their stories, helping them to reflect on their culture and traditions, to appreciate the richness of their traditions, but also to challenge what is dehumanizing and wrong in their families and villages. She has chosen a core group of 3 women from each village. They come together each month for 1.5 days. They have covered topics such as health, water, cleanliness, sanitation and latrines, the girl child, marriage, customs, age, rituals, prenatal and postnatal cases, childbirth, vegetable gardening, animal husbandry, education, facilitating immunization of children and animals. Organised visits of St. Teresa's medical team to 6 villages, building latrines, making smokeless stoves, sewing classes, goat schemes, help for widows, buffaloes for widows. Each year, almost 200 women come to Kipra for 1.5 days to celebrate Women's Day. Traditionally, women have been very subservient in this very male patriarchal society. But Teresa, Miss Miriam, our 3 new young women teachers show that they have a voice, that they have a message, and that they are going to be heard. We will need to facilitate, encourage, and nurture their newfound freedom, helping them to continue to come together, to know their giftedness and their right to make good choices for themselves and for their children. As Teresa and Miriam have shared and